What if the reason people talk over you isn't because they're stronger, but because you keep surrendering the room without realizing it? For years, you've tried to be polite, you've waited your turn, you've kept the peace. And somehow, you're the one who gets cut off, ignored, and spoken over at work, in relationships, even among friends. Today, you'll discover 6 smart Stoic phrases that instantly change the dynamic without yelling, without begging, and without losing your composure. You'll learn how to hold your ground with calm authority, so your words land with weight. And near the end, I'll give you the phrase that silently forces respect, even from the most aggressive interrupter. Watch till the end. The principle you skip might be the one you need most. The Stoics understood something most modern people learn too late. Respect isn't negotiated through anxiety, it's established through presence. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You always own the option of having no opinion. There is never any need to get worked up or to trouble your soul about things you can't control." That line isn't about becoming passive, it's about becoming unhookable. Because when someone talks over you, the trap is emotional. You feel disrespected, so you rush your words. You tighten up, you try to prove yourself. And the moment you do that, you hand them the steering wheel. Epictetus opens the Enchiridion with a truth so sharp it still cuts through modern life. Some things are in our control, and others not. You can't control someone else's manners. You can't control their ego. But you can control your voice, your pace, your boundaries, and your decisions. And Seneca gives you the weapon most people refuse to use because it feels too simple. The greatest remedy for anger is delay. Delay, pause, control the tempo. In this video, we'll explore 6 Stoic communication principles, each one delivered as a phrase you can use in real conversations. These aren't motivational slogans. They are verbal boundary lines, calm, clean, and commanding. But before we get to the phrases, you need to understand one thing. The goal is not to dominate people. The goal is to stop abandoning yourself. Let's begin. Lesson 1. Control the tempo. Marcus Aurelius wrote about inner power, often paraphrased as, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. This truth has guided leaders and philosophers for centuries, especially when the outside world tries to rush, provoke, or diminish you. When someone talks over you, they're often controlling one thing: pace. They speed up the conversation so you can't plant your feet. They interrupt to force you into reaction mode. Stoicism teaches that your power begins where your reaction ends. The calm person owns the tempo. The rushed person is being led. A common misconception is that confidence is loud. It isn't. Confidence is steady. It's the ability to stay coherent while someone else tries to create noise. You know the feeling. You start speaking, and someone jumps in mid-sentence like your words are disposable. You either stop, and resentment builds, or you push harder, and your voice gets sharper, your thoughts get messy, and you sound emotional. Then later you replay it in your head, thinking, "Why didn't I just finish?" This principle solves that mental spiral by giving you control of the conversation's rhythm. Here's the phrase: "Let me finish this thought." Say it slowly, not like you're asking permission, like you're stating a fact. Tomorrow morning, practice it in low-stakes situations. Use it with a friend who interrupts. Use it in a meeting. Don't explain. Don't justify. Just return to your sentence. If they interrupt again, repeat the same phrase with the same calm tone. That repetition is not weakness. It's discipline. It signals, "I don't panic. I don't chase. I complete what I start." And when you continue speaking, lower your volume slightly. It forces others to quiet down, to catch your words. Most people, when interrupted, either collapse or explode. They become submissive or aggressive. But you become unmovable. You don't fight for attention. You command space through composure. This is how respect begins, not with rage, with steadiness, with the quiet certainty that your voice doesn't need to compete, it needs to be complete. But controlling tempo is only the first layer. Because some interrupters don't care that you want to finish. They care that you won't confront them. That's why Lesson 2 changes everything. Lesson 2: name the behavior without emotion. Epictetus begins with the foundation. Some things are in our control and others not. The Stoic move is not to control others, but to control your response so cleanly that others must adjust. A Stoic doesn't insult. A Stoic doesn't plead. A Stoic observes. Naming the behavior without heat is powerful because it removes the drama that interrupters feed on. When you say what's happening plainly, you take away their camouflage. Psychologically, this is a boundary technique. You separate the person from the action. You're not attacking their identity. You're pointing to a pattern, and patterns, once exposed, lose strength. Some people talk over you in a way that feels slick. They do it with a smile. They cut in politely. And if you react emotionally, they flip it on you. Now you're the problem. Now you're too sensitive. That's the trap. The interrupter wins twice, first by stealing your space, then by making you look unstable for noticing it. Here's the phrase: "You're interrupting me." No extra words, no apology, no anger. Say it once, then stop speaking. Let silence do the heavy lifting. This is where most people fail. They say the boundary, then they fill the silence with nervous explanation. Don't. If they deny it, don't argue. Just return to your point, as I was saying, and continue. Use this at work when someone cuts you off in front of others. Use it in relationships when a partner steamrolls. The calmness makes it undeniable. Weakness isn't being interrupted. Weakness is pretending it didn't happen while your self-respect drains out of you. Strength is clean. Strength is factual. Strength is a man who can look someone in the eye and state reality without shaking. You're not asking to be treated well. You're requiring it quietly. Now, if you think naming the behavior is powerful, wait until you learn how Stoics handle the deeper issue: disrespect disguised as urgency. That's Lesson 3. Lesson 3: refuse false urgency. Seneca gave a rule that still defeats impulsive communication. The greatest remedy for anger is delay. In conversation, delay is not hesitation, it's sovereignty. Interrupters often weaponize urgency. They act like, if they don't speak right now, the world ends. But Stoicism trains you to pause. That pause is not empty, it's a declaration. I don't move at your frantic pace. Modern psychology aligns with this. A pause disrupts escalation. It lowers emotional arousal. It forces the brain back into reasoning instead of reflex. In other words, delay is how you keep your dignity intact. When someone barrels over you, your nervous system reads it as threat. Your heart rate rises, your words rush, your voice gets thinner. Then you say something you don't mean, or you go silent and hate yourself for it. False urgency makes you abandon your message. You trade clarity for speed, and speed is where you lose. Here's the phrase: hold on, one at a time. Then you pause. If they keep going, repeat it. Same tone, same pace. You're not negotiating. You're setting the rules of engagement. Tomorrow, practice this in stressful moments. A heated debate, a chaotic meeting, a family argument. The goal is not to win the argument. The goal is to regain order. And if they refuse order, you have information. You've learned they don't want conversation, they want control. Most people get dragged into verbal chaos like a man drowning in a river. But you are not drowning, you are standing on the bank. You choose when to step in, you choose how fast the current runs. Delay is your armor, calm is your weapon. But what if they talk over you and then pretend they didn't? What if they twist it into, "I'm just passionate"? That's why lesson 4 is the line they can't cross. Lesson 4, set a clear consequence. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been." Meditations, often cited as Book 4, Section 7. This isn't denial, it's mastery of judgment. Stoicism doesn't mean you tolerate disrespect. It means you don't let disrespect own your mind. A consequence isn't punishment, it's clarity. It tells people how access to you works. Many people try to set boundaries with emotion, hoping the other person feels bad. Stoicism doesn't rely on the other person's feelings, it relies on your actions. You don't need them to understand, you need them to adjust or lose the privilege of your attention. If you have no consequence, your boundary is a suggestion. You'll say, "Stop interrupting," and they'll keep doing it because they've learned nothing happens. Then you grow bitter, you withdraw, you stop speaking up, and slowly you become invisible in rooms where you should be respected. Here's the phrase, "If you keep interrupting, I'm going to pause this conversation." Then follow through. If they interrupt again, you stop talking, you look away, you check your notes, you end the call, you walk to another room. Not dramatically, not as a performance, calmly. Tomorrow, use this with someone safe first. Build the muscle. Because when it matters at work, in conflict, in serious conversations, you won't suddenly find courage. You'll rely on training. Weak men threaten and never act. Strong men act and rarely threaten. When you enforce calm consequences, you become predictable in the best way. People learn. He doesn't explode, but he doesn't bend. That is respect, not fear, respect. Now we go deeper. Because sometimes the interrupter isn't attacking your words, they're attacking your status. Lesson 5 is how you reclaim status without aggression. Lesson 5, speak from position, not defense. Marcus Aurelius reminds us there's never any need to get worked up over what we can't control. The Stoic speaks like a commander, not like a man seeking approval. When you defend yourself, you imply you're on trial. Stoicism teaches a different posture. You state your intention and proceed. You don't over-explain. You don't plead your case. You don't try to earn the right to speak. This is where many people misunderstand confidence. Confidence isn't having better comebacks. Confidence is the refusal to treat disrespect as a debate. You've seen it. You start a sentence and someone jumps in. You try to keep up. You start giving extra details to prove your point. And the more you explain, the more they interrupt, because you're signaling uncertainty. Then you leave the conversation feeling small, like you had to fight just to exist. Here's the phrase, "I'm not done." 2 seconds, that's all it needs. You don't say it as a complaint, you say it like you would say, "That's not the exit." Calm, certain. Then you continue speaking at your pace. If they try again, you repeat the same phrase. Use this at work when presenting. Use it when a friend hijacks your story. Use it when family members steamroll. You are not being rude, you are being clear. Most people live like their voice is a fragile thing, easily stolen. But your voice is not fragile, your presence is not negotiable. A man with self-respect doesn't compete with interruptions, he outlasts them, he finishes. Now, we're nearing the most dangerous part of this, because once you start holding your ground, some people will test you harder. The next phrase is what you use when they push. Lesson 6. Lesson 6. Withdraw attention like a Stoic. Epictetus teaches that your inner faculty is your own. Your judgments and choices belong to you. The Stoic uses attention like currency, and he doesn't waste it. Some people talk over you because they feed on reaction. If you argue, they win. If you get loud, they win. If you look wounded, they win. Stoicism offers a brutal solution. Remove the reward. When you withdraw attention, you're not being passive-aggressive. You're refusing to participate in dysfunction. You're saying, I only speak where dialogue exists. You've tried reasoning with interrupters. You've tried being nicer. You've tried being louder. And it keeps happening, because the real problem isn't your wording. It's the other person's appetite for control. If you keep giving attention to bad behavior, you train it to repeat. Here's the phrase, I'll continue when I'm not being interrupted. Then you stop. You don't fill the gap. You don't rescue their discomfort. Let the silence pressure them, not you. If they apologize, you continue calmly. If they mock you, you end it. If they keep steamrolling, you leave the room or end the call. Tomorrow, use this phrase once. Just once. Feel the discomfort. That discomfort is the old version of you dying, the version that begged to be heard. Most people fear silence because silence feels like losing. But silence, controlled, is dominance. Not dominance over them, dominance over yourself. You are not a background character in your own life. You don't chase a moment to speak. You create one. And now, one last loop to close. Because these phrases work but only if your identity matches them. The conclusion will lock that in, and it's the part most people skip. You came here because you're tired of being talked over, tired of feeling invisible, tired of walking away from conversations with unfinished sentences and finished patience. Now you have 6 Stoic phrases, 6 boundaries that restore order. Let me finish this thought. Teaches you to control tempo. You're interrupting me exposes the pattern without emotion. Hold on, one at a time, rejects false urgency, and returns the room to reason. 1. If you keep interrupting, I'm going to pause this conversation, introduces consequence and self-respect. I'm not done, keeps you out of defense and inside authority. And I'll continue when I'm not being interrupted, withdraws attention from chaos and demands basic respect. These aren't just ideas, they're tools to rebuild your presence, tools to keep your nervous system calm while your boundaries stay firm, tools to make your words land like steel instead of smoke. Remember what Marcus Aurelius taught: you don't need to be worked up by what you can't control. And remember what Epictetus warned from the first line: some things are up to you, your judgment, your choices, your response. So here's your challenge. The next time someone interrupts you, don't improvise, don't argue, don't spiral. Pick one phrase and deliver it slowly. Then hold the silence like a shield. Tap like if this resonated with you. Drop your affirmation in the comments. Which phrase hit hardest and which one will you use first? And subscribe for unapologetic Stoic truth every single week. Become the master of your mind. Rebuild, refocus, rise.